This is Rooted Cosmic Soul, Season 2 of Broom Closet Recordings, healing the patriarchy within, and the here and the there, offering rememberings in times of chaos, confusion, love, and belonging. I am Diedra, your sometimes reluctant but always growing guide. In this season, I'll be sharing channeled and conjured episodes related to healing the patriarchy within. There's a link in the description to the digital book titled the same. If you haven't already, please subscribe and like. This will help me grow the channel and therefore grow my ability to continue these offerings with dedicated focus. I deeply appreciate you being here. Hey folks, welcome to another Broom Closet. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you've been on this quite interesting ride with us, welcome back. I have been processing quite a few messages in a really intense way. Much of it is being brought to me through my own healing and my own processes. It has been incredibly challenging and also incredibly enlightening to process all that's coming at me at the moment. And also, I think it just would be better for me to share those with you as much as I can separate it out. And I'm going to do my best. And they've been coming at me pretty intensely in a really kind of concentrated way through my own healing. And it's been coming for quite a bit now in 2025, but particular shift for me was when Chiron went into retrograde, as well as other planets. My natal chart also has embedded in it a lot of divine feminine energy that comes in the form of fire, and I'm feeling it and attempting to process it as much as I can on my own for my own healing, and then when I feel compelled to share it with the collective. So these messages, again, I said in my last Broom Closet that I'm really clear. I'm speaking to people who do identify as rooted cosmic souls. This initial piece I want to talk about is related to that last Broom Closet, in which I asked folks to share with me how that message lands on them. I got an email from a rooted cosmic soul out of Oregon, which I really appreciate you sharing your process with me. And it just reminded me that these broom closets really are like the broom closets, the process guide that I released in June are really for folks who are rooted cosmic souls healing themselves from the tendrils of the construct. And again, remember, when I speak of the construct, I'm specifically talking about the ways of patriarchy, the ways of the ideology of whiteness and separation, and the ways of capitalism that creates greed and overconsumption. And patriarchy, I'm very specifically talking about the global war against women. The healing that we're seeking is that is all in us because it's part of the construct that we were born into for multiple generations. And the healing comes with the practice of clearing out those tendrils from our eye. I speak a lot about it in terms of the idea of what we're seeking is to be balanced humans. And the share that I got from our fellow rooted cosmic soul in Oregon, I'm actually just going to read exactly what she said to me and then talk a little bit about it. Rooted Cosmic Soul out of Oregon, I say Oakland, Oregon, says, I've been considering balanced as a word throughout the videos and process guide and wondering if a verb form of balance is a better fit for me, or using various forms of balance. Balanced sounds static or binary. Balancing the divine feminine and divine masculine as a practice as things ebb and flow and the yin yang is present together may be woven. Maybe something like to transmute patriarchy is to be an energy balancer, and they put that in quotes, being responsive to what is present moment to moment. I don't know, just some of the reflections I've had while working in the process guide and listening to the videos. And I really love it because let me first say 100%, I am in complete agreement with Rooted Cosmic Soul out of Oregon. And the reason that I wanted to highlight this was just that what happens when we open ourselves up to being in conversation about what we're experiencing and what we're feeling. In my own healing, when I first read that, there was an initial feeling of resistance, like, was I being questioned, which would be fine? Did I put out something that was bad for people, which would not be fine, but even bad, like that word? I had to recognize that my ego had stepped in, and the healing that I'm doing in terms of healing the patriarchy within is to even notice, like to see and sense that a rogue piece of ego from the construct of how I've been taught to be, and to be competitive with others, to one up others, to be smarter than others, to step back, right? And so I took a breath. I could, in the moment, I could see what was happening. I had to take a breath to settle into my body, to settle into my heart, to settle into collaborative space with this person who was meeting me where I was and actually met a request I made to tell me how these things are landing. And once I did that and I reread that section, I that's when I was like, oh yeah, 100%, totally, we are in agreement. So I bring that here as a means for other rooted cosmic souls, that the way that the construct will try to get into us and separate us from others is it can be very subtle. It can be very subtle through the ego of like reading something preliminarily and really fast because we're all really busy, and having a reaction. And that's what the construct wants us to do, because a reaction would divide me from the person who sent that. Whereas slowing down, taking a breath, realizing what's happening, and being responsive to the part of my shadow that's controlling my ego got poked, and being with that to then be able to respond with them, and I did respond and ask them for permission to share this here. And so the other thing that it really brings up for me is, which I keep saying, is like the power of words, the power of words, of storytelling, of perception. And perception is reality, and reality varies because from my lens, the word balanced is, I get it can feel stationary, whereas balancing can feel more ebb and flow. Totally understand that. And from my perception, it is the same. Because for me, to be balanced means I'm in the action of being in relationship with both my sacred feminine and my sacred masculine energies, of rational and emotional, of linear and nonlinear, right? All of that stuff, of the thinking and the feeling. I'm in relationship with both of those things to even get to a balanced state, which is not static for me. And that's going to be based on one's experiences, one's reality, one's perception. And one is not better than the other. One is not right, the other being wrong. One is not wrong, the other being right. They are our experiences. And what rooted cosmic souls are here to do is to be in conversation about it, to have that exchange back and forth, to and what I believe is to be in the back and forth, in the knowing of my power within, of what my reality is, and using the word balanced versus balancing, being open to hearing their experience of the word balanced versus balancing, coming into that conversation, both of us being really clear where we are, and that's the power within, to be in conversation with each other, for power with to organically come out of the conversation. I believe that there can be no preconceived notions of right and wrong when going into conversation with others, if we want power with to organically rise. For power with to organically rise, we have to come into it with just the clarity of what's here and the curiosity of what's over there. And that shared helped me further deepen the healing that has to happen. And it's daily, right? Like, I think it reminds me of, there is a reason I did not name my process guide Healed Patriarchy Within. and named it Healing the Patriarchy Within because it is active. So very similar, like this idea of we are balancing um, the whole of ourselves. The visual that I put in the process guide was a Venn diagram of the sacred feminine, the sacred masculine circles, and then a circle down here bringing that Venn diagram in, which is the sacred you. That's the process of balancing. That's the process of healing the construct, teachings, learnings, complicity, indoctrination, so that we can move into and be and do from our sacred selves. The other thing that I wanted to share around this idea of using different words and then being in conversation about what those different words might mean to the people speaking them is that's how stories get woven, right? I've been talking about how reality comes into being based on the stories we tell, the stories we hear, the stories we believe in or don't believe in, and just the way in which Rooted Cosmic Soul in Oregon and Diedra Rooted Cosmic Soul in Oakland are processing the words balance and balancing differently are because of the stories we are each living by. And the healing is being able to discern that and to decipher what story is my I. And I believe for Rooted Cosmic Souls, the search is to find the story that speaks to our most authentic selves, meaning not just all of ourselves, but ourselves. And there's multiple selves here because we're ever evolving. But what is speaking to that as well as speaking to the greater good of the we? So reminding folks that as we're healing this I and we're thinking about our perceptions, that our perceptions are reality, and you are considering my offering around this idea of stories and how stories create our perception. Stories can be used to deceive us, and we can use stories to create anew if we are healing the construct. That also came up for me as a clarification for folks to bring up in this message. Okay, hold on. I need to like close my crown a little bit because I'm getting so many messages in at one time. I need the messages to slow down, please. Um, related to Okay. So related to this idea of balancing who we are, I had another conversation with a group of clients around this idea of complacency in the experience of it. I'm going to speak very specific to the United States in that how does one be in the act of balancing the onslaught that we are experiencing in terms of the construct really squeezing us and wanting to not be a part of that construct with balancing the requirement to be a part of the construct to survive. Likely that's going to come in the form of having a job, keeping a job, which is becoming difficult in the United States, same as safety nets around healthcare, childcare, and food, access to food. I asked the question of what are their experiences of complacency? Because I am experiencing the perception of not even a balancing, that folks around me are not balancing per se, but there's a complacency, a sense of complacency to what we're watching happening. Now, I don't say that as a judgment. I believe it is part of the construct conditioning us to believe we lack the power to shift the course of events, and also fear. Speaking up puts spotlight on folks, and most don't want that in a violent regime, right? Living in a violent regime. So this other person said they have been reading this book about dictatorships in Panama. And the author of that book was talking about one of the things that helped bring in the dictatorship was the behavior of the people. And she brought in the concept of exceptionalism, and that this idea that people really thought it could not happen here. And I love that again, because I was like, oh, absolutely. And for me, they were not, complacency and exceptionalism are not separate. They are an active sort of flow and story weaving a reality. Because I believe that in the United States right now, exceptionalism, I mean, if anybody knows anything about the United States, exceptionalism and entitlement are built into us, those who are born here and those who get naturalized, right? The process of getting citizenship is an indoctrination. And in that indoctrination is the idea of exceptionalism and entitlement. In order to thrive in the United States, one must start taking in these ideas. For me, exceptionalism and entitlement create complacency. And so it was really, again, it was beautiful to be in conversation, to be able to enter into conversation healed enough that when another viewpoint arrived, my response was not defensive. My response was, or rather, like, I didn't react defensively. My response was, let me think about that. And then I could see the whole story start weaving together. And then I just offered, I was like, oh, I think we are saying the same thing, but at different points in the story. I do agree that it is exceptionalism that is at play here. And that exceptionalism, along with the United States entitlement, is what's creating my perception of complacency. So like I say, my perception, because something is occurring here that I can't quite name. I can feel it, and it's some of what's causing me grief, because I can feel it in terms of watching folks distance themselves from their humanity for whatever reasons they may have, as well as I heal more, moving further and further away from even being able to move in the construct complicitly. So there's ways in which I am complicit because I'm processing resistance to what spirit keeps telling me about what's next for me. I'm in resistance to it, and yet to stay means, it definitely means that stagnancy, that it's not a balanced or balancing place that Rooted Cosmic Soul in Oregon was saying they want to be in, because I can no longer function in the construct. I did it for many years to the detriment of all of me. And now I have healed so much from being complicit in patriarchy, ideology of whiteness, and capitalism. Not to say I'm not a part of it anymore, not to say I'm still not complicit, but I have healed enough that I can't function in it. So while being in it and outside of it, witnessing this, the story that I'm creating is I'm witnessing complacency. Now, you have to do your own work of what you may or may not be witnessing. What I would suggest is to stay out of, like, yes, witness what others are doing, but don't move into judgment. Witness what others are doing and then pay attention to witness your response or reaction to it, to what is happening in the world. Use it as a means to go deeper into your I, not as a means to use the master's tools of powering over, of control, of oppression, suppression to get people to think the way that you think. Your thinking, your perception of reality is based in the path that you are walking, and only you are walking it. And until we connect our eyes into the we, then we might be able to share a story of what your experience is, my experience is, and then we grow a shared story. My belief is that we want to be creating shared stories while also being really clear that in order to not do harm, in order to not fall into using the master's tools to control what story is being created, we have to continue to do the healing work on the I, so that I'm stepping into collaboration with you through a clear understanding of my power within and what is activating and moving me, and interest and curiosity of your motives, your power within, what is moving you, so that we can create a shared power with. Okay, that's the offering. I'm also going to leave us with 3 insight cards. We're going to do this together. I did also already shuffle this for this read, for this broom closet, but sometimes they're so spot on. I worry that people think I'm picking them out, and I'm not. This is coming from our higher selves to this moment around this idea of balancing, and how our balancing is creating a sacred self that is able to be in collaboration with and for the greater good. So I love that we were offered 3 different avenues and messages. Now, they may weave together, they may not. They may, all of them may speak to you, only one may speak to you. This is Rooted Cosmic Soul 101. Use your discernment, and decipher the message for what makes sense for your healing process. So first I pulled a message from truth. Truth is coming from your North Star, your purpose. And the offering is to transmute limiting beliefs, examine the definitions controlling and impacting your perception of choices available, and it's coming in at a 5. If I had to connect it to what I was just talking about, I would connect it to this idea of what does it mean to suspend construct reaction when you're in collaboration or in conversations with others, and to transmute any limiting beliefs you have about how that can come into reality. Because any limiting beliefs one might have about how collaborative stories come into being is going to impact your definitions of what choices are available when you're in collaborative spaces. The other thing that I'm getting right now is, if we're talking just specifically about what it means to be a balancing human, what does it mean to move between the sacred feminine, the sacred masculine of yourself, to be on that spectrum, to be moving through that spectrum within each moment, because it's always now, 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 to really look at any limiting beliefs you have about the ability to do that, the ability to be in the ebb and flow. I'm getting the message that for some folks, there's a belief that I can't bring emotion to my relationships, or there's a belief that I can't be rational about this. This is going to be really for empathic, strong feelers. I can't bring in the rational. There's too much emotion coming in. And so really transmute those limiting beliefs so that you can see what choices are available. So for example, at the beginning of this, you heard me say, I think I said it out loud, that I had to close my crown a little bit, because there was, when I started connecting to the collective of the United States right now, so much started coming in, and it emotionally was really overwhelming. And so instead of shutting it off, thinking, well, I can't do this, I know some choices available to me is to, close some of my energy points, some of my chakra points, just a bit, so that the stream is not, I'm not being overwhelmed by it, right? But if you have limiting beliefs about what the body is capable of through your energy centers, you're not even going to know that that choice is available to you. So your higher self is asking you to open yourself up and transmute limiting beliefs. The next one we received is a journey card, meaning this is energy being offered to us from planetary movements, the cosmos. You could also define this as coming directly from your ancestors, from your main spirit guide, from past lives. Like, it's an energy that's being offered to us. And this is saying that in this idea of seeking to balance, to be in the balance of, to be balancing, to be a balanced human between the sacred feminine and your sacred masculine, is to lean into this idea of vulnerability. And for me, this idea of vulnerability, it's It's the visual of letting your inner child run free. So it's coming back to your most authentic self that you, or selves that you are exploring right now, and letting that energy out, letting that energy be what you lean into as you're moving in that pendulum or that spectrum of the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine. For folks who are more into tarot than oracle, know that this is the star card. So there is some offering that's being made around finding your light, finding your a release of freedom in this idea of the sacred self, and in putting the healing, walking the path of healing, so that you can access your sacred feminine and your sacred masculine from a real balanced state, and you're balancing that in every now moment, which is every moment. Know that that can help bring in the energy of your most authentic self, that unconstruct touched child within all of us. And then lastly, the sacred feminine is offering us a communication coming in through air to investigate your beliefs about power. So specifically, I'm being given that, again, for folks who are thinking about this idea of when, why, how, where one can balance the different energies that we have named yin and yang. I call them sacred feminine, sacred masculine. Those energies, they are intimately connected to our understanding of power, power over and power within. And so the sacred feminine is offering the energy for you to really investigate that belief. How are you attaching how you define power? This has come up before. Thank you, Spirit. Power with, power over, power within. And in that investigation, know that it is through that that you will be able to transmute some limiting beliefs, because you need to investigate what you believe power is and power is not, where power is housed, where power is not housed, what power will bring, what power doesn't bring. Even the word power, similar to what Rooted Cosmic Soul in Oregon was looking at the word balanced. When I used the word balanced, what it brought up for them. So same thing here, right? The word power, when you hear the word power, what is it bringing up for you? The last thing I'm going to say here is that I'm getting is just an example for folks to chew on. The construct gives us this idea that if you have a concept or an idea and you share it, the construct of patriarchy, whiteness, and capitalism tells us that it needs to be the best, most perfect idea ever, and that you have to defend it. That if someone comes at you and says, hey, Diedra, I don't understand balanced. I really think it's more balancing. The construct is telling me to shut that down, to not even bring it to you all, right? To act like that didn't even come in. Everything that came in was in complete agreement, which we are in agreement. We just came at it in different directions, but you know what I mean? The construct is going to have me do that, which comes back to this idea of exceptionalism, not just within as a country as a whole, but as individuals, that we are creating something for in a competitive way, and it has to be different and it has to be better. But to be vulnerable enough to open oneself up to the conversation of, yeah, let's talk about this. Let's be in the creative space of weaving, of evolving a story together. And in order to get there, we have to transmute the limiting beliefs that the construct has given us about what collaboration is, and more so, exceptionalism. What are we entitled to? How am I defining my I in terms of my worthiness? Is that worthiness being connected to that I'm only worthy if I bring in an idea that doesn't get challenged or that speaks to everybody, like that kind of stuff. That's what we're talking about here is Rooted Cosmic Souls. That's the healing, the patriarchy within journey. So thank you folks for joining me on this Broom Closet recording and this channeling session. Thank you for bringing your energy. My energy is going to stay with me. Your energy is going to stay with you. I'm sending so much love and compassion, grace, kindness to all people for the greater good. Unfettered and infinite love and gratitude.
This is Rooted Cosmic Soul, Season 2, Healing the Patriarchy Within, a Broom Closet recording, offered with infinite love and gratitude. Thank you for watching, listening, co-creating the energy necessary for this time and space to exist. My energy stays here, your energy stays there. Return when your spirit moves you to do so. Same Bruja time, same Bruja channel.